Doc Coyle, Bad Wolves, joining us in the Rock Zoom room. Good afternoon. Where are you today?
We're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yes.
Okay, now Grand Rapids, I know Grand Rapids, Northern Michigan, Central, whereabouts?
Somewhere like that. I would say somewhere in Northern, Central, perhaps Western, maybe Eastern. We're going to go Michigan. We're somewhere in I'd say the best part of Michigan, which is second only to the other best parts, which are also great. So
well done.
You gotta remember.
Yeah, you'd make a great politician.
Exactly. You have to be very magnanimous, very diplomatic, and always, put the power to the people.
Darn straight. So you're out with Papa Roach now. How long you been out?
We've been out for a little over 2 weeks, and it's going fantastic.
Yeah, it must feel great to do it again. Is this your first 2-week stretch since things went to the shitter?
Yeah, the last Bad Wolves show was February 20th, 2020. So it was almost 2 years. It was like 2 years and 10 days between playing shows.
Okay, so not only is it fantastic to get back onto the horse, the band has to be in shape. Every member has to be in shape in terms of playing, especially the drummer, because God knows if you put his sticks down for 2 years, it takes a little more than 6 weeks to get it all back. But the travel, getting used to the travel and the rigors of a touring routine is another challenge as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be lying if I said it was just jumping back on the horse. It's definitely been an adjustment period. I think for everyone. In our singer, a brand new singer, hasn't toured in like a decade. So, he's finding his kind of sea legs as well, and the truth is, and I've been touring my whole adult life. I really feel like, especially when you have like a new record, or especially like us, we're integrating a new member. I mean, it'll take you a good 6 months on the road to really lock in and really like have everything kind of functioning. So I feel like that first tour or first couple tours, you're still finding yourself and seeing what rhythms work for you, and it truly is a lifestyle. It is something that you have to figure out your routines. You have to figure out what's healthy for you, right? What kind of works for you in the environment, because it is an environment that is pinpointed by compromise, right? You're sharing spaces, you're on top of each other. So it's all about using that kind of emotional intelligence of the people around you to make sure everyone's in a good space, and energy, the actual energy of the environment. If one person's in a bad mood, and that affects everyone. So it's a very collective environment that you have to attune yourself to.
Yeah, and new singer Daniel Laskowitz, Acacia strain. He's a guitarist by trade, and like you mentioned, he'd kind of been out of the game for 10 years. Not out of the game, but shifted to more behind the scenes. He was doing production and engineering. What got him back on his feet and doing things a little less settled, let's say?
Well, I think for him, it was a calculated risk in that, he sees the potential of a band like Bad Wolves. Acacia Strain, his old band, my old band, God forbid, John's old band, Devil Driver, we come from a different world, more underground, more gritty, more metal. And the kind of levels Bad Wolves has gotten to is something I don't think any of us ever thought we'd have a chance to kind of be a part of. So I think him, recognizing his own talent as a singer and going, hey, I'm definitely have the skills and the talent to kind of pull this off. And then going, hey, with this band, the sky is kind of the limit. So I'm sure I don't want to speak for him ever, but I imagine he probably figured, hey, this is just a great opportunity to try something that has very, very high potential. And I think we all feel that way to some degree, that even though the transition hasn't been easy, these kind of, getting played on the radio that's such a privilege, right? That's such an elite subset of artists get that opportunity. so you can't squander it. You have to take advantage of it, and it's one piece of a puzzle, but it's such a blessing to have opportunities like that, and then to get to tour with bands like Papa Roach and Hollywood and Dead. I mean, how many bands would cut off finger just to get a week of shows like that, and that's our daily life. So it's just something, like I said, I don't want to speak for him, but I imagine seeing that, hey, this is a very cool thing. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that the train was already moving and he could just kind of like hop on and take over where Tommy left off.
Yeah, I mean, but given that it was kind of in the heart of the pandemic, and I think many artists' future was uncertain, right?
Yeah,
There was so much up in the air. I think for us, though, we just took everything one step at a time, right? So when he first joined, our first monumental goal was make a great record. And that's what we focused on. And we put our eggs in that basket. And then it was, okay, now we're promoting the record. And now we're touring, and that's our focus. So you just kind of you can't really zoom out and look at the big picture of everything. You have to focus on that big task that's right in front of you. And each one is like this little trial, right, for yourself to go, okay, let's see what we can do here. And I feel like every step we've kind of surprised ourselves in how well we've kind of taken to each of these challenges. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be intimidated by a challenge and then have it work out. So it's that that builds confidence and it keeps everything going. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. So on the new album, Dear Monsters, he fits like a glove. And your other guitarist, Chris Kane, said that he was really attracted to Daniel's pop sensibility. And considering the fact that you guys are categorized as a heavy metal band, I found that quite refreshing.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because there's plenty of metal bands that are still pop, if that makes sense, right? If you listen to Judas Priest, right, or Iron Maiden, you hear those hooks that are written. Like if you were to break it down, the melodies and the structures, it's still pop music, just in the frame of heavy metal, right? If you were to listen to a really great Linkin Park song, it's still kind of in that structure. And I think ultimately when you're dealing with personnel in a creative environment, you have to play to their strengths. And I think probably what he means with DL, it's almost like the tone of his voice. Like he could literally be a pop singer, like just by the tone of his voice, and having his writing sensibility leads to that. So it's, we're always going to bring the heaviness. We're always going to bring the riffs and the guitar solos and that stuff, because that's kind of just who we are. It's you have to honor the natural sense of where you go with things. But ultimately, especially I think doing the style we do, you got to have those big hooks. We want something that's, you write a chorus that 10 minutes later you're fighting to get it out of your head, right? And that's that craft, and it's something that you're always trying to do. You want that tonight. You want the whole crowd to be singing along every song if possible.
It was interesting. You talked about focusing in on little things and that it's difficult to see the big picture. And that just got me thinking about your manager, Zoltan, from Five Finger Death Punch, musician, working musician, and managing you guys. That's a unique combination. And I would expect that he would have a little more empathy than somebody who sits in an office 10 hours a day.
Well, truth be told, we're not working with Zoltan in that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I did not know that.
Anymore, but I have nothing but positive things to say about Zoltan and how he helped launch this band's career and give us guidance and just be I guarantee you we would not be in the position we're in without him doing for us what he did for us. And we're still very, very close with him and all the people in Five Finger Death Punch. They're incredible band. Some, ultimately for us, they, I think, provide that template of the potential of, like, if you do all the right things and you write the right songs and you take care of business, this is where you can get to. And so that's just a massive inspiration. And Sultan is a brilliant, hardworking guy, and I just thank him for everything he's done for us.
Wow, you guys have been through a lot in the last couple of years, besides what everybody else has been through.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you ain't wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Now, most of you are from the Northeast, right?
I'm trying to go through. Yeah, actually, originally everyone is from the Northeast except for our bass player Kyle, who's from California.
And you're based in Los Angeles now.
I moved there 7 years ago,
Okay.
coming from New Jersey. And to me, Los Angeles is a place where if you have ambition and you're willing to go for it, there's really no doors that are shut to you. It is the one place, at least with regards to the entertainment industry, that there's no barrier to entry, right? All you kind of need to do is believe you're the thing you think you can do, and then you're in a highly competitive environment, and you can tell very quickly if you're up to the task, because there's so much talent, and that's why a lot of people don't make it. They'll go there for a year, and they'll go, you know what, this is a little too crazy for me, and
Right.
they'll head back to where it's a little more calm, and it definitely has a bit of a Shark's Tank type of mentality, which rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I personally get off on that kind of vitality, and I don't know. There's something to it, and it's beyond music, because that's the hub of Hollywood, of course, and television and other forms of media. So there's just every place, you has something important to it, and that's why it's that place, right? Paris is Paris for a reason. New York is New York for a reason. Seattle, whatever. Like, I love that, but it's not for the faint of heart. All right, it definitely has its rough edges, and I totally understand if people who move to LA and it doesn't work for them. Like, it's definitely a thing that you're either into or you're not.
Yep, the hub of modern entertainment culture, the beaches, the mountains, the Dodgers and the Lakers. It just makes me want to hop on a plane and have a little visit right now. It's not going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you this, we were on tour and it just warmed up the last couple of days, but I mean, it was negative, I don't even know what, less than a week ago. And when we left LA, it was about 75 degrees. So that's tough to get away from.
Yeah, I know. I'm finding every year the winters get harder and harder, and this year was a pretty tough winter up here. So what you experienced is pretty much what we were experiencing here in the last little while. Fortunately, things are starting to change a little bit, but yeah, we got a little while to wait before we're out in our bathing suits and opening up the swimming pools. Do you have a family back in Los Angeles?
I just have a girlfriend and a dog.
Yeah. And how does she like you being on the road all the time?
She misses me a lot.
Yeah,
tells me
comes
every
with
day.
the territory, right?
Yeah, I think me, I'm a lot more. How do I put it? I get like tunnel vision when I'm working on a project, and so when I'm on tour, I'm just like, I focus so much on my task that day, which is put on a great show or do interviews and things like this, or answering emails and kind of work on that. I get like, oh, I'll see you when I see you. Like I get, and of course I miss her. But I'm so task oriented, and but my girlfriend's an amazing person who showers with love probably more than I deserve.
Well, I was going to say the cool thing now is with modern technology, you can be away from a person but still remain close. You can text in real time. You can talk face to face in real time. I mean, it's not flesh to flesh, unfortunately, but still you can remain close and stay in contact. So that's a good thing too. And I can actually speak to that from some experience. So good on you for keeping that going. What kind of dog do you have, by the way?
Pitbull. She's a couple years old,
Yeah.
cutest dog in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
drive you crazy, has way too much energy. Not very well behaved, but we love her to death.
That's why they call them
Ruby.
dogs. Yeah. How's the podcast going? You're a broadcaster now.
Yeah.
Podcaster, broadcaster, it's the same thing.
Well, it's funny, usually from the road, I'll, find a way to get my shows in and get interviews done. But this tour has been kind of, we've had a lot of like challenges and just our day to day and figuring things out. So I've kind of like almost put it on pause. Like I did one kind of like monologue show, and some of that though is me kind of putting things on the back burner for a second because my 200th episode is coming up, and I want to get someone really special. And so I'm trying to give myself some buffer time to actually secure the right interview. So,
Right.
so we'll see. And sometimes there's like the pressure cooker of the tour, and I feel like part of me wonders because it's been years since we've all been out on tour, that everyone's experiencing different kind of stresses out here because we've all been homebodies. We're all it's just presenting a different challenge in our lives. And I think it's affecting certain people in different ways. And that's, by the way, that's completely removed from the shows because the shows have been absolutely incredible. I mean, every show is either sold out or close to it. The crowds are incredible. So like usually I would get interviews with people on tour, but I'm in this thing where I almost feel like I don't want to bother anybody. I feel like everyone's in their own zone. So I'll figure it out. But I love doing the show. I've been doing it for 5 years, and it's interesting to use the word broadcaster because that's also the way I view it, as kind of constantly refining that skill set as an interviewer, as a listener, as a public speaker, as someone who tries to voice their opinions in a coherent and purposeful way. So that's something I take really seriously, and also just the idea of, even though my roots are as a musician, to constantly be developing other skill sets and not just being stuck in one zone and kind of looking yourself as doing one thing, just being a versatile individual as much as possible.
Let me ask you, somebody who works in radio gets a lot of direction, gets a lot of help, gets pushed this way, gets pushed that way, gets told or asked not to do this and try this. Have you had any mentorship, any guidance, or are you kind of on your own?
I mean, my guidance is listening to other shows that I admire and trying to hold yourself to a standard. I mean, ultimately, audience is going to decide. If no one listens to your show, then you're probably not doing something correct. My audience has been fairly consistent through the years, and I think for me, it falls on me to not be complacent, right? To, like, for example, I listen to every interview I do, and I'll, and try and gauge, was I speaking over the guests? Was I, like, if I set up a premise, did I stumble? Was I not concise? So I'm always listening and going, and usually it's like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get. So I'm sure I have periods where maybe I'm working on an album and I'm not doing as many interviews. And you'll see if I haven't done an interview in a couple of weeks, you're not going to be quite as sharp, But if you're doing, 3 interviews a week, you're going to fall into just a much better rhythm. So I don't think I've had many people who would say above me as giving me kind of advice or criticism. I just listen to what I consider to be excellent, hosts or broadcasters, whatever you want to kind of call it, and try and go, what tips and tricks can I pick up from these people? What are they doing well that I can do better? That's just so, that's how I do it.
That's a good way to do it because oftentimes when listening to yourself, you're your own best critic. So I think that's everything you said there is right on. And I think you should try radio sometime. It might be hard to work into your schedule. but
No, I
it's a
mean,
different thing altogether.
no, believe it or not, I mean, that's a big reason why I started it, was because at the time I wasn't doing music full time, and it was like, hey, here's another thing that as a career, if music doesn't work out or whatever, I can maybe do this kind of thing. And so that's something that definitely factored into my want to pursue stuff like this.
Good for you. Good for you. Now, your podcast it's kind of narrowcasted. Tell me what the theme of most podcasts is, and tell me the name of it too, so people can find it.
So it's called the X-Men podcast. And yes, that's a play on words with regard to the superheroes, the X-Men, but it's EX as an ex-member of band. I used to be in a band called God Forbid. And when I left that band, I went through this phase of real like soul searching. And I thought that would be fertile ground to speak with other musicians about them leaving their musical situations or leaving careers. And so that became kind of the jumping off point of, speaking with quote unquote ex-members of bands. The show has expanded past that, where essentially I talk to anyone I'm interested in, but it still kind of will follow the same structure, because sometimes, for example, you have someone who stays in a band for 20 years, that sometimes is just as interesting. Why did they stick around during the hard times and not give up, so that that kind of kernel I found to be something that people right away were very interested in. The show picked up steam right away, and I've definitely seen my show influence other shows, which is the best evidence that it's a good idea.
Good for you. Well, that's fantastic, because I think there's something like 5 million podcasts out there, and new ones coming out every day, hundreds, if not thousands. So to be able to find a niche and find an audience is a real challenge. But the trick is well, you've been doing it for 5 years, to be consistent, to have great guests, to be very good at what you do, and make sure that the content is excellent. So that sounds really exciting. This coming Saturday night, you're playing a new nightclub. Well, it's a new live music venue in the beautiful Beaches neighborhood of Toronto. The place is called History. You're opening up for Papa Roach. I know you've been to Toronto, but I don't know if you've had any time to walk through the beautiful neighborhoods. But if you get an opportunity on Saturday, some fresh air, go down to the beach. You're a 10-minute walk, and I think it would really clear your head and make way for a fantastic show on Saturday. And I think it's going to be a beautiful day. So I urge you to try and do that and discover one of Toronto's great neighborhoods, the Beaches. So History for Bad Wolves and Doc Coyle alongside Papa Roach this weekend. Thanks for joining us on the Rock Zoom Room today.
Thank you for having me. We appreciate the support. And Toronto, I mean, I've been going to Toronto since 2001, I believe. Played the old Cathedral Room. I don't know if is that place still there? The Cathedral Room?
No. A lot of places closed down during the pandemic. They've risen, but they've been reinvented or taken over by other managers.
But yeah, I've had a great history there, and definitely relish the opportunity to come back, especially with, we've actually had a bunch of new venues, like beautiful venues on this tour. So I'm really looking forward to it. Canada has some of the most dedicated fans in the world. They really wear their rock and metal kind of culture on their sleeve. So it's always an absolute honor to come back. So I can't wait. And I remember we played the Budweiser Center a couple of years ago, and
with 3 Days Grace.
With no, that was with Five Finger Death Punch and Breaking Benjamin. And
I'm sorry, I'm getting that confused with your Oshawa show, but I'm interrupting. Sorry.
Yeah. But no, it's okay. But that venue's on the waterfront, and I mean, it was beautiful. I walked up and down there, so now I can't wait to see these new beaches. Very excited. History. Yeah. Let's do it.
Now. All right. Doc Coyle, Bad Wolves. We'll see you on the weekend. Thanks for joining us in the Rock Zoom Room. Cheers, my man.
Take care, brother. Cheers. Have a good one.
Right,
bye.